We are your connection to the sounds that surround you.
Hit music belongs here.
I got the keys to the city.
This is Vicinity FM 95.3.
Enjoy.
Rise and shine, beautiful people. It's another new day. It's the 22nd day in the month of July. Welcome on Newspaper Review this morning. How are you doing? Now, how are you coping with this weather? I am OLUWAFUNKE Israel. It's great to be here again this morning.
Yeah, it's another morning, the 22nd day in the month of July. How are you this morning? How has your month gone so far? It's newspaper review this morning. I am Aisha Ibrahim, and do join us on our Facebook and YouTube page at Vicinity 95.3 FM.
Yeah, and I will be taking top stories on The Guardian, Nigerian Tribune, Daily Independent, Punch newspaper. Do well to join us on our Facebook page at Vicinity 95.3 FM, also on our YouTube channel at Vicinity 95.3 FM.
Okay, before me this morning is the Vanguard newspaper, the Daily Trust newspaper, and the Nation newspaper.
And I will take the top stories on The Guardian. Shettima laments depletion of 90% forest cover 2027. PDP declares Tinubu bad product, conveys 101st NEC meeting. Awujale burial, there will be grave repercussions, says Ogun traditional chief. Electricity tariff imbalance triggers new subsidy inefficiency. Debate. IG pledges reform as retired officers protest for pension on the contributory scheme. Confusion in LP as Deity walks tightrope amid factions, coalition moves. Falano, Sani, faults Kemi Batnook over citizens' claim. State FCT's unutilized 250 billion education grants worry UBEC. Nigeria's GDP, its 373 trillion naira, remains fourth biggest in Africa after rebasing. Court orders for feature of 222.729 billion recovered from Chinese nationals.
Yeah, from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, the top stories. Tinubu directive on Benue crisis yet to be implemented, said by author. Nigeria sliding towards authoritarian rule, NLC. Police pensioners hold protest in Abuja, Kwara, Plateau, others. Rebasing. Nigeria's GDP hits over 372 trillion naira as poverty rate worsens. Ganduje's replacement tops agenda as APC holds next meeting Thursday. Abuja demolition. Victim dies hours after. Northeast to pay highest rates in proposed electricity tariff hike. 2027 PDP NEC to review report on zoning national convention. And that's all on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
Yeah, now move to the Punch. On the front page of the Punch, Nigeria now spends half of its revenue on debt. Presidential panel. 2027 fresh LP crisis. SOB rejects Dati Aburepi's deal. NAS showdown. Natasha faces police blockade today. Businesses expect rate court as MPC reconvenes today. Electricity at fallout. Jenkins discuss wage estate begin tariff courts. Enugu defense power abuse slash as Ondo play two others join tariff courts. Jenkins threatens shutdown. Pension revolt. IG vows action after ex-police officers nationwide protest. Services sector fuels 3.13% economic growth. Gunmen shoot two Nigerians dead in South Africa. Awujale Ogun government prepares for legal battle with Ifa Council.
Now, from the Nation newspaper this morning, state failed to utilize access to 250 naira billion Ube cash. 92 billion naira shared between January and June. Obi's 2023 running mate to contest for presidential in 2027. Abure led LP reaffirms opposition to coalition. Nigeria citizenship. Federal government knocks Kemi Badenoch. NBS reports Nigeria's rebased GDP grew by 3.13% in quarter 1. And away from Nigeria, United States visa fraudster face live ban. And that's all from the Nation newspaper this morning.
Coming to Daily Independent, why patriotic Nigerians won't support Tinubu in 2027 by PDP. Lassa fever at CDC confirms 151 deaths as fatality rate soars. New tax reform act may kill aviation sector. Prater says act will lead to job losses. Rebasing service industry drives GDP growth by 3.13% in first quarter 2025. IBB Sons denies rejecting Tinubu's appointment. Nigeria drifting towards impulsion, says Akintoye. Nigeria's forest resources hold over $2 billion potential. Shetima. Jenkins rejects tariff courts by Enugu power regulator. Insurance industry revenue drops 51% amid weak demand, policy delays. Experts push for national scale-up of gynecological skills training.
And from the Vanguard newspaper this morning, retired policemen protest poor pension welfare nationwide. Why Atiku hasn't officially joined ADC? US to Nigerians, we will prosecute ban visa fraudster from entry. Delete your joke. Onanuga blasts influencer for comparing Obi to Lee Kuan Yew. ADC coalition won't survive, said by author. Lagos government intensifies effort to tackle flash flooding. Defection rumor, I am not leaving PDP, said by Governor Adeleke. Why Atiku hasn't officially joined ADC? And that's all from the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
On Nigerian Tribune, speculators panic as $1.31 billion FBI inflows, market reforms, narrow exchange rate gap, experts laud CBN, full driving rate convergence, Obi's running mate Deity offers to resolve LP crisis present at NEC meeting by Abureled Group. Late Alhaji Abdulaziz Arishekola Alawo speaks. IGP cautions protesting ex-police officers against external influence. Protesters insist on exit from contributory pension scheme. Health, novel blood test predicts preeclampsia months before onset. Nigeria's economy expands records by 3.13% growth in first quarter. Over 250 billion naira UBEC intervention fund unutilized by state government. UBEC says 92.4 billion naira disbursed in 6 months. Lagos to launch 500 billion agriculture initiative to end food shortage, and 3.7 million people face food insecurity in Northeast Nigeria, ICRC.
And to the details of our dailies this morning, from the Vanguard newspaper, defection rumor, I am not leaving PDP, said by Governor Adeleke. Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State yesterday dismissed his rumored defection, disclosing that he is going nowhere and remains in the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. Governor Adeleke, who spoke after the flag-off of the dualization of the 3.5-kilometer Ila Township Road in Ularogo, said his promised path is to serve the people and will not relent in doing so. He said, and I quote, "I am glad that we are here today to flag off the dualization of the Ila Township Road project, despite the lingering uncertainties in the nation. I have vowed to my God and the good people of the state that I am committed to serving them, and I will never be distracted from my vow to serve the people of the state." That's said by the Governor Adeleke.
And this brings me back to the Punch newspaper. Well, the NAS declares showdown today as Natasha has planned to return to the Red Chamber. NAS showdown, Natasha faces police blockade today. Suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan appears poised to resume plenary today despite warnings from the Senate that a suspension remains in force and binding. The lawmaker representing Kogi Central, who was suspended in March, revealed over the weekend that she had formally notified the Senate of her intention to return, citing a recent court decision as a basis. Well, Akpoti-Uduaghan insisted that while her suspension did not stop her from executing constituency projects, it had obstructed her ability to carry out vital legislative functions like sponsoring bills and moving motions.
Still from the Vanguard newspaper this morning, delete your job. Onanuga blasts influencer for comparing Obi to Lee Kuan Yew. Bayo Onanuga, special advisor on information and strategy to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has strongly criticized a Twitter post linking Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi to the list Singaporean statesman Lee Kuan Yew. The post in question was made by Alex Onye, an education influencer on X, formerly Twitter, who wrote, "Peter Obi is like Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. Leaders like him come once in a generation." Onye's post drew wide attention on social media, with many supporters of Obi echoing the sentiment. However, Onanuga, replying to the post in the comment section, dismissed the comparison as absurd and offensive to Nigerians.
Back to the Punch newspaper. 2027 fresh LP crisis as Obi rejects Deity, Abure peace deal. Well, the camp of Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, has distanced itself from Monday's reconciliation meeting between his former running mate, Dr. Deity Baba Ahmed, and the Julius Abureled leadership. The Labour Party has been engulfed in a leadership crisis which intensified in April after three members insisted they were the rightful leaders of the party. This came after the Supreme Court disqualified Julius Abure, who is recognized by the Independent National Electoral Commission as the party's national chairman. The media papa further complicated the issue, insisting following the Supreme Court's judgment. Stories on the Punch.
Stories from the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Lagos government intensifies efforts to tackle flash flooding. The Lagos state government has stated that flash flooding will continue to occur in the state, retreating its commitment to upgrading and building resilient drainage infrastructure to prevent flooding incidents across the state. Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Mr. Tokumbo Wahab, gave the assurance when speaking with Newsnet after an assessment tour to inspect progress of work regarding the Lagos Island Regeneration Project, as well as the ongoing drainage project at Onikoyibo Banana Island and Femi Pedro Avenue in Parkville Estate on Sunday.
You're still on to newspaper review this morning. Do well to join our live program on Facebook at Vicinity 95.3 FM. We're live on YouTube, on our channel on YouTube at Vicinity 95.3 FM. Don't go anywhere. Beautiful morning to you, Sir Abdul Malik Salam. Thank you for joining us on the program this morning. Newspaper review.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here again this morning.
Yes.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing all right. Thank you. How about you too?
Yeah, great,
Thank God.
great. Well, on our newspaper review this morning, let me start with a report on from the table of the presidency saying that Nigeria is spending half of its revenue on debt servicing, according to the presidential panel led by Tayo Oyedele, who is also the chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee. Well, recently there was a meeting held in honor of the new tax era, and he has declared that there is no jokes here, that our budget deficit is declining, and we're spending more on infrastructure and also debt servicing. Now we know that it's not an unusual thing, to borrow money. Even the most developed countries in the world, they borrow, and somehow. But at this point, with our own history in Nigeria, do you think that we're doing right, with all of these debts we are accumulating and servicing this debt, and what it's doing to our economy?
Well, thank you for this. Well, as you have rightly said, borrowing is not actually the main issue, because to do something and you don't have the enough resources to be able to accomplish that, one of the things you can do is to secure some debt. But in securing those debts, the main thing we should be discussing is how are we going to judiciously use this debt to ensure that whatever we put this debt into will give us the returns that will help us to be able to repay this debt within the agreed time. So in our own case, if you look back, successive governments have been borrowing heavily, both the federal government, the subnational, the state government, they have the local debt and the foreign debt. So now in relation to the federal government, as we all know, the past government, before this current government,
Yes.
borrowed heavily, and the point, or one of the excuses given was that it was meant for infrastructural development in the country.
Yes.
They talk about the transformation of the airports, the construction of roads, bridges, and other infrastructures. I think one of the things we can see is that in some areas we can see some of these infrastructures, but are they really serving the people? I think that's one of the questions, because if you borrow money in the name of Nigeria, you are borrowing it in the name of the over 200 million people of Nigeria. So in that case, people should be able to use these facilities. If people are able to use these facilities, then we are getting the services we have paid for. Then in doing that, it will help us to be able to pay back this debt. So I think the current government should not follow the trajectory of past governments in borrowing without commensurate facilities or infrastructural development to show for this debt. What the government needs to do is, if the first thing is to actually look inward. Borrowing is not the first thing you think about when you need resources. I think the first thing is to look inward into our own resources. How can we improve our own local earnings? And if at the end of the day we still have the need to borrow, then it should be for tangible reasons, things that we can see and that will benefit the majority of the people of Nigeria. So from to address your main point, I don't think we have judiciously used the debt that we have incurred in the past. But I think it is not a good point to be dwelling much on the past. Going forward, the federal government needs to pay attention to the amount we are borrowing, what are the terms of this debt, and what are the gains that the Nigerian people are going to be getting from this debt in terms of infrastructural development and others. So in doing so, we'll be able to see that if sometimes we don't really need the debt, then we don't need it. So if we calculate that this will not benefit the majority of people, then we don't need it. We don't need to borrow to do some unnecessary things, or maybe to pay salaries and like. We borrow to do critical projects that will actually contribute to the economy and that will put us in a better economic position to be able to repay these debts in record time.
Yeah, thank you. So, honestly, I really don't want to go to the story of Natasha, but it's something that I think we have logged over time. Like, for the often time, we keep talking about Natasha. It's been running for 4 months now. Well, she has decided to return to the Senate today, even with Senate giving a stern warning, asking her not to come near the National Assembly, saying that, okay, now we don't even know if they have access to the certified true copy. But with the things on ground, we know that Senate is bent on seeing her doing a 6 months suspension to the end. And also, she has decided that she is going to come into the House today. And there is a report here that Senate may likely barricade, the red chambers, because they're expecting her and all of that. And there is a political social analyst who we know, AISHA and OLUWAFUNKE. She has said that she will join others who are supporters to accompany her to the Senate. Do you think this is making, our lawmakers look good? Why are they dragging this issue? Like, it's something that kind of, somehow we see it as inconsequential, to the development and the good of this nation.
Well, I think the issue, like you said, it has been overflowed for a very long time, and by now, I think what it should be really, it should be a matter of rule of law, because the case has been taken to the court, and the court has delivered its own judgment. I mean, the High Court, the Federal High Court, has delivered its judgment. Now, from the latest report I have, the Senate President and the Senate has appealed the judgment.
Yeah.
So, if there is no order of the appeal court stopping the the implementation of the Federal High Court judgment. I think the Senator Natasha has every reason to resume because that is the position of the appeal court, of the Federal High Court. But since the Senate has appealed, I think the court, the appeal court needs to communicate to the lawyers their own position about if the implementation of the Federal High Court judgment has been put on hold pending the determination of the case in the appeal court. But I think what this tells us is that there are some vested interests, as we all know. It's a political issue, so there has been some kind of strong issues and between the Senator Natasha and some members of the National Assembly, including the Senate President. So for me, I think as the situation it is right now, it belongs on the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of the, which is the chief law officer of the country, to wade in, look at the certified true copy of the judgment and make the position of the law known. This is what the law says, and the court is the one that is in best position to interpret the law, and the Federal High Court has given its own judgment. I think two sides are laying claim to the interpretation of the court's judgment. So why Senator Natasha is saying the court says I should resume back to my position, the Senate President is saying no, the court did not say that. I think the Attorney General of the Federation has the duty to come in to clarify this judgment of the court and make the pronouncement. I think suspending the senator for that very long time, for me, is not democratic because I think as it stands today, we see it should not be a personal issue. It should be dealt with in line with the law of our country. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to take the story of Awujale. I know you. Are you a Yoruba man, sir?
Yes, I'm a Yoruba man from Osun State.
Oh.
The local government, to be precise.
That's good to know. So we know recently Awujale, joined his ancestors. That was even an event that coincided with the passing of the late former president Muhammad Buhari. But there is always this atmosphere when we lose, our traditional rulers that we always bring, traditions into this. And for the first time, a king as popular as Awujale, of Ijebu land, was buried without any form of traditional rites. And now the Ifa Council is saying that we are going to take this up with you. And Ogun State government also says it's preparing for legal battle over, the threats of Ifa Council, saying that there will be repercussions for not allowing traditional rites to take place during the burial of the Awujale, who we are told, it's a Muslim, and I decided to bury him according to Muslim Islamic rites.
What I can say about that is that as a Yoruba man, we value our tradition and our culture. That is a very critical part of our life, of our living, of our existence. So, but one thing we should understand is that everything what is constant is change, and everything evolves over time. So the culture evolves, everything, the way our ways of doing things evolves over time. So the system we practice today in Nigeria in relation to the traditional institution is actually, traditional institution in Nigeria now is under the purview of the government. So they are now being governed by the laws and the constitution of Nigeria, unlike what obtained in the past, where the traditional institution has its own ways of doing their things, and they are not being controlled by the government. But the way it is being run today, the constitution of the federal republic and of each and the law of each state guides the way they administer and the traditional issues in terms of the urbans and the like in each state. So the matter, and I think I should we refresh our mind that there has been this issue came up even during the life of the late Awujale, whereby there was a law, a bill sponsored in the House of Assembly that talks about this, and I think people who are coming out to agitate now should have done that time, since it was a bill, they had the opportunity to argue their own points about it. Now it has become a law, and the law is now being implemented. But the beauty of the system that we practice is that the fact that it has become a law is not the end. If some people have issues with the way it is, I think they also have every right to challenge it. The death rituals. As an individual, I think the law permits you, whether you are a traditional ruler or not, or a private citizen, the law permits you to state how you want your burial to be done. The law permits you that. And also, there is a law in Ogun State that has been passed, there is a bill that has been passed into law that talks and discusses how these things should be done. So if anybody has issues with that, I think they should take it up properly and legally. And I think that's the next thing that should be done. But as of today, there is a law that governs it, and the law is being implemented. So at the same time, people who have issues with it, they have the right to their opinion and to their view, and I think they should pursue it in a proper and legal way. Thank you.
Yeah, so let me come back to this. This will be a question that we'll use to wrap things up. So now, this sounds very juxtaposing, because now support for women's bill excites advocates, because we've seen reverse seats bill being promoted recently, even during the International Women's Day this year. The Senate President himself, Godswill Akpabio, said, we're giving 25 seats to the women. We want to see more women in the red and green chambers at the National Assembly. Now, don't you think this is kind of contradictory with the issue of Senator Natasha? I just wanted us to go back on that.
Yeah, that's actually, it is very interesting, because in one hand, we are trying to promote the participation of women in political space. And on the other hand, some of the women who are doing it are being persecuted. So I think it's contradictory. But my view on this issue of reserving some seat for women is that it's a commendable act, because it will motivate women to be part of it. Because if you even look at our population, I believe we have more women than men. So automatically women should be. So if we have more women, then automatically, if you are in a gathering of 100 people, then we should have, if not more women, then we should have an equal amount of men and women. Well, as we all know, politics doesn't work that way. You need to get involved and play your own part and come out for election, participate in the processes and the like, and nobody will force you to do that. So it's a commendable one, but I think what we really need to do is to start from the grassroots, to make sure that we provide a level playing ground for everybody, and we also empowered women to participate in this process. So if we do that, who knows, maybe we might even have more women than men in the Senate or in the national or in any political gathering, and that doesn't change anything. We all have the same brain, we all have the same capacity as men and women, and I don't think there is nothing special about that men can do when it comes to politics that women cannot do. So I think that act is commendable, but what we really need to do to prevent the kind of things that is going on in the case of Senator Natasha is to actually empower women to participate freely in the process, starting from the grassroots. By doing so, you are giving them a level playing ground, and they will be able to showcase what they also have to offer the country. So by even limiting the participation of women, we are limiting the development of our country, because we are not tapping into the brains and capacity of majority of our citizens. So if you look at other countries around the world who are doing well, the more you tap into the intellect and the resources of your citizens, the more you have the opportunity to develop as a country. So it's a commendable act, but it's actually in contradiction to what is playing out in the case of Senator Natasha at the National Assembly, and that's very worrisome.
Yeah, thank you, Comrade Abdimalik Salman, for joining us this morning. If you've been listening to Newspaper Review, our guest will joined us virtually. It's actually speaking from. He's speaking all the way from Alabama, U.S. He's a language teacher, educator, and research assistant, and also have his PhD in view. How is that going, sir?
It's going well, as you know. It's about research, and it's going well.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. It's demanding. I think that's the beauty of it. You need to put in all your best. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish you all the best on that. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure to be with you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yeah, with no further ado, this is where we say bye on the show, Newspaper Review, this beautiful Tuesday morning. Do out to join us again on the morning show at 9:20. Until then, I leave you in the hands of your maker. Go out there and do the impossible. I am OLUWAFUNKE Israel, and we always thank the support of our producer, Mujib Olakunle, for always making this a show ride.
Yeah, like Funke said, go out there and do something possible. Nothing is impossible. So let's go out there and be productive, and by the end of the day, we'll be proud that yes, I did something today. I achieved something today. Thank you for joining the newspaper review of Vicinity 95.3 FM. I am Aisha Ibrahim. Do have a great day.
Yeah, and thank you, Saturday today. Now on our Facebook says good morning. Yeah,
Good morning to you, sir.
Pleasant morning to you.